I had a 3-month stint at the NYS. Those days there was a requirement to enter the university, so I did 3 months prior to going to the University of Nairobi, where I went and did a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science and philosophy. And then I was hired at Egerton in 1990, where I have been to date, so my CV has only one employer. In 1994, I felt the need to improve my academics, and I won a government scholarship via the World Bank and proceeded to the UK, where I did my master's in business administration. I went back to my job in 1995, soon after I finished my studies. And I continued working until the year 2004 that I had the urge to improve my academics. And I applied for a government scholarship and I was successful. I won a government scholarship that fully funded my PhD studies in the UK. And I did go and I finished my studies in the year 2010 and I resumed my work at Egerton University. So again, I have been at Egerton, and maybe I can go back again to my work experience at Egerton. I was hired in 1990 as an administrative assistant. That is the lowest level at management. I was working at the faculty level, where I was responsible for managing student issues, from processing of examinations, dealing with students' disciplinary issues. I was the faculty secretary, and I was a member of various committees in the faculty. I continued rising. I became a senior assistant registrar, a senior assistant administrator, then rose to the position of assistant registrar. And in the year 2000, I moved from the faculty level, where I had been for 10 years, and I was made to be in charge of admission issues in the university. I became the admissions officer from the year 2000 to 2004. Prior to proceeding for my PhD. And in that capacity, I was in charge of the overall management of admission-related issues. I was the one that was processing application letters. I would print letters for students who are admitted through the Joint Admissions Board. I was responsible for processing list of students, ensuring that we have the right students that are admitted into the university. I was responsible for preparing for admission of students every semester when they came into the university. I made coordination with the Higher Education Loans Board to ensure that the students who had applied loans were able to receive their loans in a timely manner. Thereafter, I proceeded to the UK. When I came back in the year 2010, August, September, resumed work. By then, I had been promoted to the position of senior assistant registrar. And at that particular point, I was in charge of the transcripts and certificate office, a very sensitive place where I was responsible for keeping in safe custody student certificates. I oversaw the printing of certificates, and I was in charge of both the blank and the printed certificates. Again, as you are aware, from the scandals we have had in the country, issues of people having fake certificates is not something new. It has occurred. During my tenure in that office, I had the opportunity of being brought a certificate by an employer through the security operators to confirm whether that particular certificate of somebody who was working then at the Catholic Diocese was a genuine certificate, and I was able to write a report that indeed it was not a Egerton University certificate, although it had all the features of Egerton. Indeed, it was not the certificate. So I am aware of the sensitive nature of that office, and I carried out to the best of my ability. I coordinated with the faculties to ensure that we have the correct number, registration and details of students who are graduating, that the transcripts are also reflecting the true records in the university. And then after that, in 2011, the university advertised for a position of lecturer at the Faculty of Commerce, and I did apply, and therefore I transitioned from being in administration into teaching. I've had 10 years of teaching experience, 21 years experience in non-teaching. During my teaching experience, I have mentored students. I have taught several courses at undergraduate as well as postgraduate level. I have supervised both master's and PhD students. I've carried research. I have been a head of department during that period of time. For a period of 5 years, I was the chair of department of business administration. I have been a member of various committees. I have been a member of faculty curriculum development. I have developed 8 modules for our e-campus. I have been a mentor to students. I have at some point supervised, been an observer in student elections. So in a nutshell, with all this that I'm saying, I want to believe from my 31 years of experience at Egerton University, I have amassed a wealth of experience. From my non-teaching experience, we had the opportunity to handle very sensitive student records from examinations. I will not deny I have had instances of students trying to come and talk to you in court to change some marks because they think that they should get better. I've had those instances. So I am aware of the integrity of managing records. I have been able to supervise staff, both non-teaching and teaching. Again, in my 31 years as a COD, I have been responsible for 14 teaching staff. I've chaired meetings. I have resolved conflict. I have monitored performance of our teaching staff. Under the non-teaching, again, I have handled various sensitive offices and sensitive nature of work. And during my period of work, the 31 years, I have never had myself brought into any position where my work performance or my integrity in delivering my work has ever been brought to issue in my time in Egerton University. I hope I have been clear.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dinah. Please confirm if you are a registered voter.
Yes, I am. Okay. My registration center is Uhuru Primary School, which is in London Ward of Nakuru West.
Thank you. Yes. And your county of record is?
My county of?
Yes, because you said you were born in Baringo.
I was born in Baringo, but I have lived in Nakuru for 31 years.
Okay.
Yes, so I consider myself a resident of Nakuru.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll now ask Mr. Morris Kimoli to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Dr.
Yes, sir.
We looked at your case study.
Yes.
And while you are responding to a crisis that was expressed in the case study,
yes, sir,
you said that you would have the commission call for an emergency meeting and to discuss issues touching on the core mandate of the commission.
Yes.
Under Article 88 of the Constitution. What would you say are the aspects of the mandate of the Commission under Article 88 of the Constitution?
Thank you, sir. The key mandates of the Constitution under Article 88, first of all, is to handle all matters related to elections and referenda. And the specific items coming from that, number one, is to ensure voter registration, to ensure continuous updating of the voter register. Thirdly, to handle issues related to delimitation of boundaries of constituencies and wards. D is to handle any electoral dispute except those that emanate from the general election. Facilitate for observers and monitoring and evaluation of the election. Come up with regulations in the process of nomination, party nominations. Use of technology to ensure that technology is used in the right way. I'm not sure I still remember the others.
That's all right. That's all right. Let me focus on one, and this is 88(4)H. It is the facilitation of the observation, monitoring, and evaluation of elections. What, in your estimation, constitutes observation?
Thank you, sir. Observation to me is, first of all, what is being observed. The IEBC Commission has specific mandate to ensure free, fair, and transparent elections. And the IEBC cannot monitor itself. So in this case, we need people who are impartial, people who are not within the IEBC. These are stakeholders who are outside from the realm of the IEBC, people who cannot be influenced. And these are people who will be on the ground. The key things they'll be looking at is the law being observed? Is there free and fair election? Is the technology working? Are political parties interfering with the process? So this is where now you bring people like we can have international observers, we can have local observers that are selected. Part of the media constitute the observers because the media will be giving real-time information on what is going on.
So I get that. So when the Constitution says IEBC has a duty to facilitate observation, yes, what is the content of that duty? Does it mean IEBC will sign contracts? Does it mean IEBC will pay the observers? What is the content of that duty to observe, to facilitate observation?
For me, the content of the facilitation is logistics, in terms of providing maybe transportation to reach where they are going, to also make sure that the people on the ground, the officers, allow the observers to go in. Because without that clear instruction, you might find some people who are very zealous refusing the observers from going in. They should be assured of their security. They should be assured of freedom of movement within the polling station. Yes.
So, thank you very much. So, what happens in circumstances, just imagining, if there was no one who expresses the intention and willingness to be an observer, will IEBC still have that obligation if no one comes forward to say, I want to be an observer?
Thank you, sir. I think that would be an area of concern if nobody wants to be an observer. It is like, imagine a scenario where we are having national examinations. Okay, and let's assume this is an examination center. An examination center is high school X, and nobody from a different high school is willing to come to X to come and invigilate the exam.
Yes, that is the situation I'm now placing before you.
Yes.
You have a situation where IEBC has a duty to facilitate observation,
yes,
but there is no one who comes forward as interested in observing that election. Does IEBC have a duty to get its own observers? Or will the election be carried out without observation?
No, it must have observation. And during the pre-preparation, IEBC has, pre-preparation period is about 4 years. And within that 4 years, you have many stakeholders. IEBC has very many stakeholders. We have the religious groups. We have foreign observers, we have civil rights movement, bodies, etc. I don't want to imagine a scenario where elections are tomorrow, you've had 4 years, that you do not have this list.
So in essence,
so to me, in essence, that preparation should have been put in place.
So in essence, the responsibility is for IEBC, if no one comes forward, to go and approach people and tell them, civil society, please come and observe our elections and give us a feedback. Is that what you're saying?
The way I look at it is that they are having continuous engagement with stakeholders. And among the stakeholders are international, are observers, both local and international. And I want to imagine within that period of time, with the continuous stakeholder engagement, that scenario really should not arise.
Now, with respect to observation,
yes,
let us take the election of an MCR in a polling station.
Yes.
Now, the election starts and ends at the polling station.
Yes.
Now, does the duty to facilitate observation continue or apply at every polling station, or is it a general duty?
It's a general duty, but I want to believe also at the polling station among the observers are the agents of the candidates. They are there to make sure that the election process is being run in a fair and a free manner. You may not bring other observers from, because polling stations we have 40,000, there and about.
Okay, I get your answer.
Yes.
So what briefly is monitoring and evaluation?
Monitoring and evaluation is the process of trying to find out whether what you had said you would do has actually happened. For example, the process of the election have been put in place. Then you want to go now and monitor and see if we had said we are going to have 50 polling clerks in a particular place. We are going to start election at 5 in the morning. Monitoring means, did it happen? This is what we had said we would do. Has it happened?
Is there, in your estimation, a requirement for observers, monitors, and evaluators to file a report? Is there a legal framework for making a formal reaction, or is it an informal arrangement?
No, it is formal. They must be able to make that, because that is the only way you can be able to make reforms. Without any monitoring and evaluation, then the same mistakes that happen today will happen again in 5 years' time. So that is why the observers, they are recognized as legitimate stakeholders of the IEBC, of the election process. Worldwide, every country has its own monitoring and evaluation teams. They have their observers, not unless the observers feel that the situation within that particular place is too precarious for their well-being, therefore that cannot happen.
Okay.
But, yes.
You mentioned agents. Agents are appointed by candidates.
Yes.
And IEBC facilitates their participation
Yes.
at the polling station. There are circumstances where a candidate will not have agents. You are aware?
Yeah.
Now, do you think agents are important at the polling station?
Yes, they are.
What would be your proposal of dealing with a situation where a candidate does not have money to hire agents? Will that be a free and fair election?
I think, thank you, sir. For me, every candidate has a duty. The only way you can be assured as a candidate.
No, I'm asking, because you don't have a lot of, I'm asking,
Yes.
if a candidate does not have money to hire
To
agents,
hire the agents.
does IEBC have the duty to facilitate that candidate having agents at the polling station? And would that be a free and fair election? Just because I don't have money?
I want to believe that the duty or the mandate of IEBC does not go to the point of hiring an agent for me.
The mandate
Because
does not extend there.
It does not extend there, because how many candidates do we have? Those are hundreds, thousands of people. So if everybody now will take that as a right now, kusema I don't have money, so IEBC pay my candidate. It goes beyond the realm of IEBC.
That's all right.
The realm of IEBC is to make sure that every polling station has the right number of clerks, the right number of polling officers, returning officers. Now, where there is no returning officer or a polling clerk in a particular polling center, then we say IEBC has failed.
That's all right. Just a last question, and this is very brief. Do you know the first time IEBC used technology in elections?
I believe it was 2013.
Are you sure?
You know the famous BVR kits?
Are you sure?
2002. There was a technology, but I'm not sure. I know it was there. I know it was there, but I'm not sure.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Kimuli. I'll now request Dr. F.S. Abdallah to ask you a few questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Kipkevut,
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to confirm whether all the 31 years
Yes.
of your working experience has been at one place. You got the 10 years in teaching and 21 years in administration.
Yes, Doctor.
Is it at one place?
It is at one place. I've had only one employer.
Right. That's you're a very patient person. It also shows that you love your job.
Yes, I do.
So why do you want to leave now?
Everybody reaches a point in their career where I have reached in my career, I feel that I would be able to bring my work experience, what I have for building my country, to make the IEBC a stronger body to work with. With 31 years experience, really, I do feel, I don't want to leave my job. I mean, if I get this job, God willing, then I would take leave of absence for the period of time and still go back. Hopefully, if I attain my professorship, which I'm waiting to be interviewed, then I would still have time to give back to my university. I would be serving the country in a different capacity, but I love my job. So I'm not leaving because there is a problem. I would definitely go back to Egerton should I get this job.
Thank you, but it will result, if you do get the job, you live where you spent 31 years. That's
just for it would be like taking a commercial break.
For 5 years? For 6 years?
Yes. I would still have, probably, I would, because I'm the senior most in the department, in the area of human resource. So I would still probably have an obligation to maybe take a PhD student to supervise. That would not interfere with the job, because that would not really interfere with what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yes, Doc. Please tell us, how is this experience going to help in IEBC?
The experience I have are, first of all, in terms of managerial experience, I have led, I have been a head of department, I have been head of section. When I was in the non-teaching, I headed the transcript and certificate office. I headed the admissions office, so I gained leadership experience. I have been head of department for a period of 5 years. I'm a faculty coordinator for student services. So I want to believe that I have a wealth of management experience. During the time when I have gained those experience under leadership, in the leadership realm of my jobs, I have learned how to work with people. I have learned how to solve conflicts. I have coordinated various activities from student examinations. I have been in charge of managing. I'm the chief, as the head of department, I was the chief examiner. It meant that anything that goes wrong where exams are concerned, I was liable. So I made sure during my period of time there was no exam leakage. Exams were submitted on time within the deadline, so there was no time that the Senate or the Dean's Committee was ever postponed because the exams were not ready on time. So I had that experience. I've handled student conflict. There are times when you're in class, students are picketing, people start walking out of your class, you don't know what's going on. When you inquire, they are saying they are picketing, so you know how to diffuse the tension. So that I have had that experience. In my teaching experience, I have now 10 years experience of teaching, supervision, mentoring students. Yes, so I would be able to bring the aspect of teaching. I have carried research, so I'm adequately fair in handling some statistical packages. I know IEBC has massive data, so I would be in a comfortable zone of analyzing data, interpreting results. Like now, we would want to know from the last election in 2017 to now, what is the change in terms of voters? In 2017, probably there were around 19 million. Now, what is the size? What is the percentage increase? What is the percentage increase in terms of gender, people with disability, minority communities, etc.? So I would be able to
statistically be able to analyze these things.
To analyze data and
But Doc, on a lighter note, yes, you have been supervising students.
Yes.
And many a times teachers their word is law. Yes. In many of the schools. Here you're entering an arena where it's different. Mm-hmm. You're going to be dealing with a much, much more bigger institution.
Yes.
The whole countrywide. And above all, you're going to deal with politicians and political parties. Yes. You have the patience, the courage to get into this?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
I think it comes with age also. Brings a lot of patience, trying to get everybody to hear everybody's side of you, even when you're supervising a student. The student has to argue their point, why they are going this particular way and not the way you want to do.
You're talking about age, you're to the converted. All right, sir. All right, let's go on. What do you understand by corporate governance?
Corporate governance, to me, to my understanding, is how you manage an institution using the right principles, the right laws, right procedures. So corporate governance is about doing things right in a corporate state. It's about following the rule of law. It's about doing what is supposed to be done. So good corporate governance, we have bad corporate governance. And in an institution where you talk about bad corporate governance, you see things like corruption, bribery, subverting the quality standards and that kind of thing. But when we talk about good corporate governance is where, it's a good organization, it cares about the people, it follows the rules of law, it files its taxes, it makes sure that the procedures and whatever it is that they do, whether it is production of goods or services, is meant for the good of the people that they're serving.
Yeah, thank you, Doc. Now, maybe I'll just share with you that the foundation to a good corporate governance is the action of the individual. These actions are guided by person's moral stance. In reference to the above statement, elaborate the characteristics that are important in the development of appropriate moral stance.
When we talk about, thank you, Dr. Ari. Moral standards, this is something within a person. It's not something that you're going to be taught, how to have the right moral standard. It is something that is innate with you. And when we talk about moral standards, it's about caring for others. It's about honesty, it's about integrity, it's about fairness. It's about how your actions are going to affect other people. It's about putting the needs of others ahead of your own. So as a leader, when we talk about moral standards of a leader, then you must espouse those particular principles, and it will reflect in the kind of decisions you make as a leader.
Thank you, Doc. Now, please tell this panel on how good corporate governance practices will benefit IEBC if you're able to implement that if you are appointed as a commissioner.
So when we talk about good corporate governance in relation to the IEBC, IEBC, as we all know, is an independent body. It means that ideally by law and by virtue of how it runs its businesses, it has autonomy from interference from other persons. And with good corporate governance, it means that really it should live up to its mandate, which is to offer free, fair elections. It means that as a commissioner or the commission itself, including the secretariat, should not be seen to espouse the principles of bad corporate governance. They should be firm. We know politicians will want to interfere with the operations. We have interested parties. Somebody will want to have a favor in relation to procurement. Somebody would want a favor in terms of having their people hired. But with good corporate governance, the commission is guided by various laws. We have the Procurement Act, we have the Public Finance Act, we have the various election laws, we have its own act. And all these guide it. They have the right within the law to do things the right way. And when we do things the right way, we don't see you being put in the papers every day because you have done ABCD. So for me, with good corporate governance, if the commissioners can be able to stand firm against interference, after all they have the constitutional mandate to be an independent body, then we would see fairness and justice being emanating from that particular institution.
Yes, Doc. I heard you saying that there'll be no negative publicity and all that, yeah? Now, from what you've been reading or we've been reading, do you feel there is no good corporate governance in IEBC presently?
No, I'm not saying that.
Right.
I'm not saying that.
But negativity is coming there.
I'm not saying that.
In your papers, right?
It is the perception, but I'm not saying that because I don't work there. I don't work there, so I wouldn't want to speak from, sometimes when you're watching from the outside, it's very easy to point fingers on something that you don't know. So the perception the public is having vis-a-vis what is going on inside, I cannot say. But from outside, of course, we saw what happened during the last elections. There was a lot of negative press, among other things. So what I'm simply saying is, within the law, if I became a member of the commission, is simply to operate within the law. We have various acts, the Leadership and Integrity, Public Ethics Act, among others, that would ensure good corporate governance.
Doc,
Yes, sir.
if you are appointed as a governor, as a commissioner,
Yes, sir.
yeah, and how would you go about simplifying complex issues in order to explain it to your colleagues?
Thank you, sir. It depends on who you're dealing with within the organizational structure. If you're at the level of the commission, whatever it is that you're dealing with, whether it is the purchase of equipment or whatever it is, then first of all is to find out whether we are all at the same level of understanding. Then if somebody has an issue of understanding, then you try and use language that is as simple as possible by breaking down the issue into the barest component to enable that level of understanding, because you cannot move on from an issue when some people are left behind and they do not understand what it is you're talking about, or they do not understand why you're bringing that particular issue on the table, what is the basis. So try as much as possible to ensure that everybody is on board.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Dr. Abdallah. I'll now request Mr. Gideon Solonka to ask you a few questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Now, my first question is
Yes, sir.
that the Election Act provides for one register
Yes, sir.
of voters.
Yes, sir.
This register of voters is a compilation of several registers.
Yes, sir.
Kindly tell us, what are these registers that eventually make one register?
Thank you, sir. We have, there's a register at the polling center. Then we have a register at the ward. Then we have a register at the constituency. Then we have a register at the county level. Then finally, all these are put together into one full register at the commission, which is the main body that is supposed to be the custodian of the voter register.
Thank you. Now, registration of voters and revision of the register of voters is required to be undertaken at all times.
Yes, sir.
However, there are certain instances where the commission is expressly prohibited
Yes, sir.
from registering voters.
Yes, sir.
Will you kindly tell us what are these instances?
Commissioner lists.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. According to the Constitution and the Election Act, no revision of the voters register can take place 60 days before an election, or I think it is 1 month, or from the day when a by-election has been announced. Then no further revision of a register can take place. So if there's going to be a by-election like the one that is about to go on at Kiamba, then it means from the day that the IEBC announced that there's going to be a by-election on date X, even if somebody wanted to move their polling station from A to Z, then that cannot happen within that period of time.
It's only one instance. You've mentioned one.
I've mentioned the general election and then by-election.
Yes, as one instance. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other?
I think I've forgotten.
You've forgotten. Okay.
I think also during referendum, from the time I think when they announce a referendum, there's a period of time, I'm not sure that it is 60 days also, that you cannot be able to change.
Okay. Why do you think it is necessary to specify a registration cutoff date?
Age or period?
That date.
Oh, the date from that particular time.
Yes.
Because, for example, if I give a case of a by-election, the by-election has been announced that is going to take place in a month or two. It means that people who want to influence that election would now change there are polling centers from where they are to come and support this particular candidate. So it is always very important to have a time frame. And also, for example, for the election, there is the need for a period of time to clean up the register. If people were to register up to the last minute, then it becomes practically impossible to have time to edit the register. So that timeline is important for when registration ends. Then there'll be a period of time when people will come and inspect to find out whether their details have been captured. And then also, just prior to the election, the commission will have had enough time to update the register.
Okay, thank you. A defined electoral cycle is critical for successful elections.
Yes, sir.
Give us a brief overview of our electoral cycle in Kenya and highlight what can be done to improve our adherence to the electoral cycle in our electoral processes.
Thank you, sir. The electoral cycle runs over a period of 5 years, and we have the pre-election cycle, which runs, in my estimation, I'm not sure, probably up to a period of about 4 years. Then we have the election cycle. I want to put the pre-election period of about 3 years, in my estimation. That is where you have the planning process for the election. Within that period, you have voter registration, you have voter education, budget planning, you have stakeholder engagement, and then you have the election period. The election period will run over a period of 1 year. I think the IEBC so far has now released the timeline for gearing up to the elections in August next year. So this is the period where party nominations will take place, training will take place, things like updating the voter register. And then now we have the post-election period where now monitoring and evaluation, the control function takes place. You want to find out what went right, what went wrong. Are there certain law reforms that we need to take place? So it's like now this is the period where you look back and see, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? What is it that we want to make sure that during the next cycle, it does not occur again? Yes.
Thank you, Daktari. What is a conclusive electoral cycle?
Conclusive?
Yes. A conclusive electoral cycle.
I'm not sure I understand that, because I have given the three, which is the pre-election, election, and the post-election. So that becomes a cycle that runs over a period of 5 years, because the Kenyan election system is a 5-year system that takes place. So from 2017, we are gearing towards 2022. I'm sure the activities that the IEBC has been engaging in through that period, we may not see it. I think we only see the IEBC during the election time. But behind the scenes, during the pre-election time, this is where a lot of behind-the-scenes activities are taking place within the commission.
Fine, I understand that.
Yes.
But then there's something called a conclusive electoral cycle. Or if you are not able to answer that,
yes.
What is an inconclusive electoral cycle?
I think that maybe if to understand the conclusive election cycle is where I think where how did you end the election? Are there any laws? Did things end the way they were supposed to? I'm not sure I understand that. Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Solonka. I'll now ask Madam Elizabeth Mayo to ask you a few questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon, Dr. Gerudo.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, it's already afternoon. In an electoral process,
Yes.
the media plays a very critical role.
Yes, sir. Yes, Madam.
If you are appointed as a commissioner,
Yes.
what would be your expectations from the media being one of your key stakeholders?
My expectation of the media is to offer fair media coverage. I would expect the media not to inflame. I think one of the key issues that came up during the post-election violence of 2007 was a key role that the media played. Particularly the vernacular media stations were found to have really taken sides with the various political key players. They became avenues for inflaming. So for me, if I was to get that, to get the position, I would really want to have stakeholder engagement with the media, the mainstream media, as well as the various small media houses, particularly those that are aligned to a particular ethnic group, to really impress upon them the role they play in either Kenya burning or Kenya remaining safe. That Kenya is for all of us, not for a particular sectarian group. I would not want to see a place where Kalenjin FM is busy inciting people against others, Inoro or whatever other station that is there, taking a role of where they are making statements that are going to rise up the temperature. Instead, there should be a forum for preaching peace and abstain from negative ethnicity, because each one of us is a member of an ethnic group, and everybody should be proud of who you are. I didn't choose to be born who I am. You didn't choose to be who you are, and we are brothers and sisters. I want to believe that if I was to meet you being mugged today, I would not say, who is this one is not my tribe, so let me just walk away. I would want to believe that we'd have that brotherhood, that sisterhood, be my brother's keeper. And that means the media should also take that responsibility of ensuring that our country doesn't burn. They should preach peace, no matter what the politicians tell them.
So as a commissioner,
Yes.
what action will you take practically to address this challenge so that we maintain the brotherhood, the sisterhood you are talking of?
Stakeholder engagement with the media houses. And I would want to believe that even the media houses under the Kenya Media Association, they have their own code of ethics. And with engagement with also the Association of Media Houses, to impress upon the need of enforcing that code of standards of how they communicate and is making inflammatory statement.